Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I wanted to overall talk on being emotional, because that's something that's been running through my mind a lot lately. Recently, I had somebody tell me that I'm an emotional person, and they overall thought, by saying, that nothing's wrong with that, it's like, how am I emotional? Especially on, what we overall was talking on, how do you not show emotions in a situation like that? I ain't gonna get into details on what it was, but it just kind of it's a slap in the face if you sit down and if you know me, if I've told you the situation and you overall know what's going on and stuff, then okay, cool. But if not, then imagine your feelings getting involved in something, and then overall somebody telling you you're too emotional. Those are my feelings. I don't know how you cannot get emotional in this situation, knowing if it had been the other way around, it's like they probably would have been 10 times more emotional than I am and stuff. So that's why I'm it's kind of, I'd see where they were getting at, but at the same time, I'm you don't really tell that to a person, when that it's it's a slap in the face and things. But overall, that's to me, I feel like what they were more so talking on was a negative emotion, because overall, throughout, all right, so I guess on this situation, it did take a big toll on me. It had me at my moments where I was just overall questioning everything in life. And it's just a road that I really don't want to go down ever again. That's why it just, it kind of leaves me in a situation where I just don't trust nothing. When you've built that, and there's people that genuinely wants to be a part of your life and wants to be a part of the things that that you do and stuff, and you just can't trust the situation, overall, I'm it just has me question everything at this point. Why? Why is that? Why does that happen and stuff? But anyways, but yeah, overall I wanted to talk on over a negative emotion and a positive emotion, because when you sit down and talk to me, I try to get a positive emotion out of everybody, bruh. Out of everybody. I'm saying my friends, people that I meet through YouTube, people that I meet through Twitch, people that I meet through TikTok. I live for people telling me oh, I made them cry because I left them a positive comment, or I shouted them out, or I gifted them a sub, or overall did something to just really help them out at the moment. Because now I remember it was a couple of people that I shouted out on Twitch, through Twitch, or from Twitch, but I shouted them out on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, they cried, and I'm fam, I didn't even realize I can do that. I didn't realize I had that power. So to be able to do that versus getting a negative emotion out of somebody, and at the end of the day, that's just a question I have for everybody. What would you rather get out of a person? A positive emotion or a negative emotion? The fact that there were people at one point in time on YouTube telling me that it was overall you can't be positive all the time and stuff. I'm that's BS. Okay, that's BS. You choose. My thing is this: you choose not to be positive. Those are your actions, bruh. Those are your actions. Whatever your actions are, they ain't got nothing to do with me. So when people would overall say that type of stuff to me, oh, you can't always be positive, I'm fam, just because you haven't had a positive life don't mean that has something to do with me. That's all on you, bruh. That is all on you. What am I supposed to, what am I supposed to do with that? So, yeah, I'm when they say things like that, I'm fam, you go take your own negative self over there. Don't come towards me being, negative and things. Because that, I'm saying, that just, it don't even make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. But anyways, but yeah, a positive emotion, fam, to get that out of people, why would you want to get a negative emotion out of a person? What did they overall do to you? That's the type of when they don't sit down and think about the other person, because that's why I'm like, no, you choose not. And it's in this situation where I was like overall talking on, where it's like, this whole conversation between me and this friend, where I'm like, you're choosing not to be put in my shoes. And that's one thing that I just really hate with today's generation, is that they're so scared to experience stuff. Like, everybody is so scared to experience love, hate, emotions, feelings, like stuff that you're living with 24/7. So you had to, my thing is this, you had to mentally prepare yourself for stuff. You have to. Bro, my thing is this, I've had dreams in the middle of the night where I've had to like mentally prepare myself, where I'm like, I had a crazy dream the other night. I woke up and was like, dang, all right, well, I guess that happened. And then I went right back to sleep. I think I was overall getting attacked or something, so I'm like, I think I went out swinging. I don't know. But anyways, overall, I'm like, fam, you people, you should not be scared to experience being emotional or feelings or any of that stuff. You should not be scared of that. My thing is this, people go skydiving, people jump out of burning buildings, people go in like these high-speed cars, people will commit crimes, which they shouldn't, but I'm saying all of these different things, but you're scared to experience emotions. Does that make any sense? Like, people be so like, there's the physical stuff, cool, chill, but that mental stuff, that's where they're like, oh, no, I can't do that. Like, why? That's my stuff. I'm like, that's the thing I just don't understand about people. I'm like, fam, do not ever talk about another person being emotional and you've not put yourself in their shoes. You can't do that. That don't even make any sense. That's not even up for the debate, argument, discussion, none of that. If you've never put yourself in another person's shoes, you have no place or business to judge, talk, criticize, try to put in your head what's going on with that. No, you do not know that person. You don't. If you've never put yourself in their shoes, that's the thing. With every situation, with every person that I've encountered, whether it was at my job, whether it was at, or YouTube, Twitch streaming, anywhere, bruh, anywhere. Anytime when I've had a conflict with a person, I've always been like, you know what? Let me put myself in their shoes. Let me see things from their perspective. If I still have a problem with it, then hey, at the end of the day, one of us has an issue. All right? And something needs to be fixed. Rather than, okay, let me sit down, try to figure this out, or put myself, okay, I put myself in their shoes. Now we got all right, I see it. So I'm like, well, what would I do in a situation like that? What would I do in a situation where I'm being a toxic boss? What would I do in a situation where I'm being a hater towards somebody? What would I do in a situation, all these different things, like where you overall put yourself, people, because my thing is this, you are experiencing your brain for 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 52 months, okay? However long you live, you are experiencing your brain the whole time. You mean to tell me you can't take, out of the years you would live on, the years that you've already been living, you mean to tell me that you can't take a few seconds or minutes or however long, you can't take that amount of time to sit down and understand how a person feels? Like, you are in no place. That's my thing. It's like you are in no place of business to tell a person who they are, how they are, what they do, or what, any of that. You have no place of business at all. So that's why my thing is this. If I know I don't want to experience that person's mindset, if I know I ain't going to associate myself with that person. And I know people, they're going to try to think of every argument or everything possible. No, you do not associate yourself with that person. Period. It ain't no like, oh, well, this, and I got it. Because people, that's one thing that people, instead of sitting down and thinking about like how that person feels, they want to come up with excuses. They want to like come up with all this like justification on why they're thinking along these lines, or why they're doing this, or why they're doing that. Like, eliminate all of that, okay? Eliminate that. Step out of your brain, okay? For a few, because my thing is this. Step out of your brain for a few seconds. Experience that person's mindset for a little bit. Like, just for a little bit. Like, my thing is this. Ask people when you're getting into it with somebody, or when you're, like, I mean, it just really depends on the situation and stuff. Like, if it's obviously like some like go to quick, like, situations where it's like, okay, well, this can easily be solved or something, then it's like, all right, cool. But if it's like a mental game that's being played at that moment, you sit down and like ask that person, how do you feel? How are you feeling right now? What are the like? What are the emotions that are running through your body? Everything that they talk on, experience that crap. Experience it all. If it hurts, fam, that's what that person is going through at that moment. And people don't take the time to think about that. Them emotions that you don't want to feel, that's how somebody's feeling right now. So that's why I'm like, man, people, stop with this whole being scared stuff. Like, if my thing is this, because your body is a temple, your body is one. So your physical body should not be different from your mental body. It shouldn't. Like, mentally, if you think you're strong for something, physically, you're going to be strong for something. Mentally, if you think you're weak for something, physically, you got to be weak for that thing. But it shouldn't be no situation where you're like, oh, well, physically I can do this, but mentally I can't. Physically I can do this, but mentally no. Or mentally I can do this, but physically I can't. No, your body needs to just be one altogether. Mentally handling stuff and physically handling stuff. That's why I'm like, with this whole podcast episode of overall being emotional, it's like, people, it's like the stuff that you're scared about, people are dealing with that 24/7. 24/7. Like, the emotions that people, like, that overall, like, where I've sat down, I've talked with them about stuff, and then they don't want to put themselves in mind, because they know that they can't handle it. They know they can't handle it. That's why it's like all those times I got into it with people through YouTube and stuff, and then I'm like, put yourself in my shoes. What would you do right now if somebody's hating on you because you're doing any old types of videos, whether it's reaction videos, commentary videos, any of that stuff? What would you do right now? Like, and that's why I'm all like, you know what? I ain't got the time to just really give them a taste of their own medicine. But I'm saying, like, if you got somebody, like, hating on your videos or hating on your music or hating on whatever and stuff, like, people, you sit down and experience, like, how would you handle that situation when you're in their shoes? That's why I never in my life can be a negative person. I can't. I'll admit, I've had my negative moments. I've done some negative things in my life. But I'm like, to be that person 24/7, fam, the times when I am negative, I try to like double my positive. I try to triple it, quadruple it. I try to add so much positivity on the negative thing that I just did to where I'm like, okay, it's eliminated. Like, I try to do something. And I'm like, fam, it's like, and to just sit there and just to be negative like 24/7, why? Like, that's the thing where I'm like, to sit down and talk to anybody, whether you have been negative in a way where you felt like it was justified or whether it wasn't justified, regardless, why be negative? Why do things that that's gonna like get underneath people's skin? Like, people do not sit down and take the time to think about stuff. Nobody thinks today. There's like very few people in this world that thinks, but at the end of the day, nobody thinks. Nobody. And it's crazy. Like, you have these brains and you don't use them. Like, people be so worried about, oh, I want to, be the best at this. I want to be, but you're just cutting straight to the end goal of it. You ain't trying to like go through the process of stuff. No, you just trying to cut to the end goal of something. That's why it's like today, people, all they care about is winning. They don't care about losing. They don't care about taking, like, the people that can accept a loss, the people that can accept L's, downfalls, 12th place, 2nd place, whichever place, okay? People that can accept the L's in life. Shout out to you. Shout out to being like, you know what? I know how this, I'm like, okay, I got to better myself. I got to do things to like really better myself. Like, the fact that people sit down, they really take the time. Because I'm like, my thing is this. and also it's like on top of that, it's like when you do take L's in life, you're acting like that's a permanent L. I mean, in a way it is, but at the same time, you acting like, okay, I can't just come back next year and just go crazy with it. Like just work harder. Like people just they don't wanna do things nowadays. I'm like, man, it's honestly, it's crazy. That's why I'm like, it just, with stuff like that, it just really makes me want to just move far away. Like, just far, far away, where I'm like, look, I don't want to know nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. Like, I just want to stay content to myself and just be like, hey, you know what? Like, y'all is good over there. Like, really, I just want to move out into like a house, like just out in the middle of nowhere. Like, I want to live like Courage the Cowardly Dog in a way. Like, I just want to be out in the middle of nowhere, just doing my own thing. Like, just occasionally, like, leave to go to town. Like, honestly, I swear, like, it's just gonna be in a point in time where I just close off from everybody possible, because I'm like, man, like that mental game, like when people don't realize like how much of a toll that like really takes on you, where there's at times that you don't even want to go to sleep at night, when you're literally like being a workaholic just so you can ignore your thought process. Like, it's funny how I overall like talk on like experiencing your brain like all this time and stuff, but at the same time, it's like, when you're dealing with things, like talking about that person that's dealing with stuff, like you don't even want to experience your brain at times, because you know what you're gonna think about. It's that same stuff just replaying in your head over and over and over and over and over again. And that's like, I feel like that's like scarier than any darkness, than anything that you ever experienced, bruh. That you've ever experienced. People don't sit down and take the time to think about that type of stuff. And so when people, they're so quick to jump up and argue with you about things, because they're thinking like, oh, my thing is this: would you rather experience the darkness, work your way up out of there, eventually find some sort of light, or argue with people? Like, I would rather conquer my fears than to argue with anybody. Because arguing with people, what is that accomplishing? Like, I feel like that's just an unnecessary win and an unnecessary L. That stuff where I'm all like, okay, regardless of facts, opinions, whatever. Like, I was talking on this not too long ago. And it's like, fam, it's just at times I'm like, people, they talk on, they argue about stuff, and I'm like, it ain't even worth it. That's why I'm like, I don't even like arguing with people. I don't like doing any of that stuff. If it's for the fun, and all of that, cool. Because I'm sharing memories. But if it's for some dumb stuff, like, bruh, I don't even care about that stuff, man. I don't. But anyways, yeah, I'm like, man, that mental game stuff, it's just, at the end of the day, it's not a joke. Like, that's why I'm like, mentally, if you screwed somebody over, like, apologize for that stuff. Don't try to, like, take the easy way out and be like, oh, like, I ain't realized, like, what you, like, people, y'all need to just start, really, like, taking risks, but also taking responsibilities of when you really have screwed somebody's head up. Like, there's been times, like, where I'm all like, I sit down and I think about the things that I've done, towards people and stuff. And I sit down and think about that. I was like, I had to actually brought up. I was arguing with a friend where I remember I said something to this friend. I ain't going to go into details on what I said. But I said something that had this friend crying, right? And I apologized for it. At the time, I apologized for it. And it's still something that, like, years, like, that happened. It happened all the way back in high school, fam. And I still was thinking about that stuff. Guess what? They still remembered it, too. I remember we were arguing one night on Facebook about some stuff. And they, like, out of nowhere had brought it up. And I'm like, that's one thing for sure. I'm like, I'm not going to be in the middle of an argument, because people do that type of stuff where they're like, oh, well, at least I didn't. That's how you know that they lost in that argument, when they do and say stuff like that. And I'm like, my thing is like, look, I apologize for that. I don't know what more I can do except apologize. I'm like, and even then, I'm all like, like when we were arguing the night not too long ago, I apologized. So I'm like, fam, I don't know what more you want from me. So I'm like, that's one thing, just talking. I'm like, people that play that mental game, or people that do be mentally going through stuff. And I was talking about that with one of my friends. It's like, like how, like, there's men in this world that are like, they mentally be going through some stuff. Don't bring that out on people for no reason. Like, if you mentally going through some stuff, accept help, that's it. But if you ain't, like, if you mentally going through some stuff and you're expecting sympathy, you're expecting pats on the back, you're expecting hugs and all that other extra stuff, I'm like, nah, fam. Like, you go somewhere else with that. Like, nah. Like, if you going through some stuff, then it's like, okay, people will help you out. That's one thing that at least a person can do. But it's like, you still gonna be playing that game where it's like, oh, nope, that don't help. That's just, I just want to sit here and be most, like, that's why it's just people like that. They just need to just go off somewhere. I'm like, with me, I'm like, I'm want to do that. I want to just, like, not even getting other people, because I really don't be getting people involved in the stuff that I be thinking about. So I'm like, I just want to go off somewhere and just kind of take time to myself. Like, that's why I'm like, fam, like, the day where I'm like, where I really make it big with, like, YouTube or Twitch streaming or TikTok, whatever, I'm like, bruh, I'm legit, I'm getting me a house out in the middle of somewhere where it's just a brand new scenery, and I'm like, fam, I'm just gonna sit around, take beautiful naps, listen to music, eat food, and just relax. Like, and just, really just take the time, because I'm like, man, that's one thing that I'm really craving for in life, is just to have it where everything just, really could just go successful and stuff. So, but anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. I ain't even gonna go through all that promo stuff. Y'all already know the deal with that. But yeah, talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening, and peace.